I think there's a clear understanding here that these code revisions and update need to be in the direction of much greater simplification, but there's also a particular kind of simplification here which involves taking complex sets of arbitrary rules and, if possible, reducing them into a much smaller number of simpler general principles. I'll throw out a couple examples I've thought of that might pop a few circuit breakers for people, but they're worth considering. There's been a lot of heartburning in recent years, or in recent months too, over the massing requirements in the unrelieved building planes. So one way to deal with that might be to simply propose some parameters. Nothing over 1.5 stories, nothing bigger than a certain footprint. It's a design limitation, but then what we already have now are much more complex design limitations. This would tend to keep the goal in mind without specifying exactly how that goal had to be reached, and it would also lead towards the aesthetic outcome that a lot of people seem to be looking for. Another example that I would use is, suppose the code were to include a simple rule that, well, all exterior walls, for example, have to be made of masonry, rammed earth, adobe, or logs, and at least 12 inches thick. Old-fashioned, yes, but how many other provisions are there across all the codes, building, land, what have you, that could eliminate? Fireproofing, insulation, aesthetics, engineering. You could condense a lot with simple rules written in the right way. And a simplified code would do two things. First of all, it would move us back a little more towards a potential owner-builder paradigm in which we could actually get genuinely workforce, genuinely affordable housing built in a reasonable time at a reasonable cost. The other thing a simplified code would do would be increase community buy-in. It's a simple fact that self-discipline works better than imposed discipline. When people support a set of rules, they follow them, and you don't need an outside enforcement mechanism. The code as it currently exists is a set of arbitrary rules made up by outsiders and imposed at the point of a gun. People don't largely understand it and they don't want to follow it, but if they understood and they wanted to follow the code because it was based in common sense, then there would be that buy-in in the community and you wouldn't need the outside enforcement mechanism. Such an approach would move us closer in the long term towards resolving the ethical as well as the practical problem presented by code. These are just a few big ideas that I hope the Commission and Tony will consider as this process moves forward.